Hi, Homeworthy. I've been waiting for you. Welcome to my home in Pennsylvania. I am Kelly Collier-Clark. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Kelly Collier-Clark. I am an interior designer and a realtor. Welcome to my home in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It's a funny story on how we ended up purchasing this home. Initially, we started with a new build, literally in walking distance up the street, and something just was not settling with me. And as a realtor, of course, I'm going through contracts with a fine-tooth comb. Never did a new build before. There was just too much unknown. So I realized we needed to get out of the contract. And so I told my husband, just trust me. So I took a weekend. I found 3 houses. This was one of the 3. And the selling point for me was the fact that it's a split level. It had amazing original bones. I'm kind of a modern vintage girly. So a lot of the original, the hardwood flooring, all of those things sold me. And then of course the pool in the backyard. So that's how I ended up picking this house. Welcome to my foyer. This is a very interesting story behind it. However, this is the most recently finished renovation area. So what you see now are the checkered marble floors that I actually had installed towards the end of 2025. Previously, there were customized Italian, like really old school, like 1980s tile here. So we had the floor completely demoed, and I'm just in love. I think that for me, a foyer welcomes you into a home. And a lot of times for guests, because guests are typically the only people who come through these front doors, but I wanted the character of our home to kind of be bold, but yet subtle, which is pretty much my personality, very much hybrid. So I'm just in love with these floors. So they're black marble, Macana marble, and then you see the white calicotta. So that's the mixture of these tile. And I'm a neutral girly, which you'll see through and through. So for me, this large scale canvas is what I wanted to just live here and let the walls breathe a bit. There's a ton of natural light that comes in from the window above the double doors. So my plants love the sun. They do very well in here. These girlies have been with me for years. As you can see, they're kind of wild, but there's plenty of space for them to live and breathe here. And I just want to share a couple of things about the artwork that I chose for this space. This piece of art here, and I'll mention, I'm going to be honest, I don't know by heart every artist's name, okay, on wall art, but I was intentional about selecting pieces that are from up and coming artisans. So this piece here, I fell in love with immediately because it depicts myself and my daughter when she was a little girl. Fun fact is we used to love the swings. I taught her how to swing herself so that I could get on the swing next to her. So this was like the epitome of us when she was a little kid. And then on this wall, what I have here is some black and white art that these are pages from a book, believe it or not. And this top one here is somewhat of like a nod to my father-in-law, who is from the Bahamas, naturally, from Turks and Caicos actually, but he grew up in the Bahamas. And one day he told this story on a holiday dinner about how he learned how to swim. He just got pushed off the boat. And when I saw this, immediately I showed it to my husband. I was like, I have to frame it. And then this here is a woman who is just basically, she kind of looks like she's hanging on. But in actuality, for me, it's a symbolization of a woman being strong. So that's what I have here on these walls as you come in. Originally, as soon as we literally turned the key, we restored all the natural hardwood floors throughout except the lower level. We have new flooring, but it's not the natural hardwood. And of course, we painted a blank canvas throughout. What we realized was that this was not going to happen overnight, right? And being an interior designer, sometimes, admittedly, I am my own worst client. So what I decided, and we decided collectively, was to go through the home one space at a time. I think we did 2 at a time here in the living room and dining room. However, when you're dealing with open floor, then you sometimes you can't do one space without touching the adjacent space. But we've been going through one space at a time, and I would say we are about 75% complete in 3 years. Welcome to my living room. What I love most about this space, number one, is the sunken feature. I don't know when I fell in love with sunken living rooms, probably the days of watching Brady Bunch. However, that's my first and favorite thing about this space, how it transitions, and it's wide open from the foyer. And it's a total open floor concept, which I also happen to love. I may have mentioned this. However, the architecture in this space I love. So I'll just walk over here to the fireplace and TV wall, which is a bit of a feature wall. And we recently added this bump out, which I'm super proud of because my husband and I got some skin in the game and we built the foundation, and then my contractor finished out the drywall for us. But what's important to me to note about this space and this wall here is how it just kind of elevates a little bit, right? Because you can't just plop a TV and fireplace on a wall. So I felt like this added a bit of customization without being too much, without committing to built-ins or anything like that. So I really do love how that turned out. The next thing I'll share is this table, okay? Like when I first saw this marble table, first of all, it weighs about 300 pounds or more. And I just had to have it. I feel like this table completely just anchors the space. And yeah, I'm big on like utilizing furniture for art. So you won't see a lot of things on my coffee table because it is the art. It's like a big focal point for me here. And yeah, so we don't have a ton of lighting in here yet. We are going to add recessed lights at some point. But during the day, as you can probably see, there's a ton of natural light that I love. The sofa. Let's talk about the sofa. The comfy couch, right? The sofa I had previously in here is a sofa that I had from our previous home, which was a home that I purchased as a single girl. And it's now in my office. So when searching for a new sofa, it was a little tricky because I'm used to having that cozy feel. But this, I wanted a more bespoke, a more intentional feel, but yet something that could be comfortable. So this fabric here is custom. It's a custom Chanel fabric from Crate & Barrel, which I love the quality. And yeah, I think it's just perfect for the space. Previously, everything in my space was cream, ivory, glass table. So this is a lot different for me, which really just speaks to my growth as a designer. I started out doing hair. I was a licensed cosmetologist, young. First time I got married, I was 20 years old. And I quickly realized 2 entrepreneurs wouldn't be ideal for raising a child. So I stepped into the corporate arena where I worked my way up, over the years, managing, leading, analyzing all the things that came somewhat natural for me. And then as my daughter grew, I realized it wasn't really enough. So then I started my real estate career, and that was about 18 years ago. And that was always part-time, a lover of homes. I bought my first house at 22, so this is actually my 4th home, by the way. And then when my daughter went to college, it was time for me to dig into something that I just naturally love, which is interior design. And 7 years later, here we are. And next, I want to transition us over to the dining room area. So welcome to my dining room. As you can see, you kind of step up to get into this space. And the dining room is pretty unique to me in a way that it's not huge, right? The ceiling's a little lower. In the living room, that pitch ceiling goes up to about 12 feet. This is a standard 8-foot room, a little bit of a square box. So it was important for me to figure out what I can do to add architectural interest. So I started with this light fixture from one of my lighting partners, Kitchler. In love with it. What it does for us is we kind of cheat lighting a bit because it shines into the living room here and it just illuminates the room perfectly. So I would say that is something I did change since I've been here over the last 3 years. That's a recent change. Now, the other thing I was intentional about was wanting to have chairs that had art. So as you can see, these chairs, these are from Anthropology Home. And I'll just pull this out a bit so you can kind of see the beautiful design. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know, I'm so proud of these chairs because they're heavy. I just want to pan it around so you can kind of see the colors. So as far as what you see on the table, I'll bring that in. I think it's important that people remember to bring colors in that complement other colors and bring them out. So I have oranges on the table. They will get eaten. We eat a lot of fruit in here. So never anything you see is not staged. It's for real life, even down to the fresh flowers. But these chairs, one of my favorite pieces of furniture, hands down, in the house. And the end chairs are from West Elm. They're black, heavy leather chairs. Another important thing is comfort. When you're in a dining room, eating dinner, having guests, you want to be comfortable. I'm a little old school, so we tend to have conversations at the table for like hours, and then the cards come out, and then the fun really starts. So that said, I'll share with you this. It's a bit of a bar cabinet. It looks like a buffet, but when you open it, what I have in here is somewhat a spillover. I think it's important that nowadays, one trend I love that to me is timeless actually is entertaining at home. So it's important for me that in the spaces that we dwell in, when I have company over, everything is kind of at our fingertips, right? So you have an overflow of glasses, wines, some I brought back from Greece. I don't know when I'm going to open it. But yeah, so this is another feature I wanted to share in a dining room that I think people should consider adding if you're going to entertain: functional furniture. I will speak to this piece of art really briefly. My husband and I both have West Indian in our family, right, in our heritage, and we love the islands. We're both Pisces. I don't know how we manage, but yeah. So that said, we both love the water. So when I saw this, it immediately spoke to my heart about us on vacation. We try to vacation at least once or twice a year, somewhere in the Caribbean, and we don't hold hands, but this is us. And this piece of art here, this large canvas, is designed by my friend Michelle Smith Boyd, who's also an amazing designer that I truly admire. So when I saw this piece, I absolutely had to have it. Full transparency, it's been moved 3 times. It was in my office, then it was in the foyer, and then once I renovated the floor, it landed here, and I love it in here. On this side of the dining room, you see burlwood again, but you see it in dark brown, which is not common as far as I can see. So this serves for extra storage from the kitchen. We have a ton of cabinet space, but we have a ton of things, right? So what's in here is like margarita glasses and things like that. Love florals, so you'll always see some type of fresh flowers in here. This book here is a book that I brought from Varellin, which is a to the trade store at High Point, but it's all kinds of photography in Africa that was taken of actual people. So I was just so tickled when I saw this. It's animals, it's water, it's all the things that completely inspire me. My honeymoon was in Aruba, right? The pink flamingo country. So this in particular really spoke to my heart for that reason. So every book you see and throughout, it's going to be someone who inspires me or something in the book that really spoke to my heart. And I probably looked through the book a ton of times. So I wanted to keep my decor minimal but meaningful. So you'll see this hammered metal mirror, which is from CB2. Quite a few retailers make this type of mirror, but CB2 is one of my favorites. And here you'll see some greenery. I think it's important, the whole indoor-outdoor and just a feeling of zen and comfort is what I get from greenery being added into the decor. Oh my gosh, I think what makes home come alive, number one, photos of yourself and your family somewhere in the house. I think sometimes interior designers and just people in general, DIYs, people who fancy themselves in the spirit of design, I think they feel that they shouldn't have wall art be photographic and photos of yourself, but oh my gosh, that's the first thing you need to bring life into your home, I feel. And outside of that, I would say things you love. That is a reflection of who you are. So things that you love are must-haves throughout your home. So this is my dining room, and I'm just going to share a peek of the kitchen with you. Welcome to my kitchen nook. I want to share with you the reason why this was important for me to create, and also just some few hacks, if you will, about kitchen design in general. So originally what you had here was a light that hung like on a chain, totally 1990s, 1980s or 90s. And there was just a regular table and chair set here when we bought the house. So immediately I wanted to like box this out when I realized we're not ready to renovate the kitchen yet. I wanted to box out this corner to make it custom and to make it feel warm and welcoming, right? And this is also another favorite place in the house that guests tend to gravitate to, myself included. Usually when we can, we eat together. And what happens is my husband will get up and go into the den while my daughter and I stay in here and chat for hours. So that's like a typical way we utilize this space. This is a more recent lighting piece, which I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. And that's just being transparent. When even designers, when we do things in our own home, sometimes it's like you have to plug and play a little bit and you may change things. But it was important for me to have something that was interesting here and that could appropriately light up this corner, because the light here previously was a little bit small. So I added in a banquette in the corner. Another piece from Crate & Barrel, which I love the neutral grounding of the fabric. The wallpaper. This wallpaper is actually part of Nikki Chu's collection, sold by, I believe it's Roommates, which is also part of York Wall Covering. Totally in love with it. And I installed it myself. It is peel and stick. And I do have commitment issues at times with wallpaper. So for now, it survived 3 years, which is great. And again, I mentioned marble. You'll see that all over the house. This marble table is amazing. It withstands the test of time. The next thing I want to share with you is a bit of a drink station that I created. I'll call it a beverage station. And what I do here is change it out depending on what we're doing, right? So what you see here today is a typical everyday setup. You know, we utilize the wine fridge for waters because I have another wine fridge downstairs, but just something simple here. So when we have parties or dinners, Thanksgiving, we kind of move this stuff out and you'll have all the beverages set up here that people need. So it's kind of convenient, ice and all of that stuff. Now what I want to share is the other side of the kitchen, which not my favorite, but it's important for me. Part of my brand is about being realistic, being 100% transparent at all times about how you can live in your home, even when you don't love every square foot of it. So what you see is old school cabinetry a bit, you know, great bones again, not anything that we needed to rip down immediately. But I think it's important that people understand you can do things that will help you to love your space while you're living in it, right? So we did get all new appliances when we moved in. And again, carved out that nook so we can just have our happy moment in this kitchen. But it's huge, it's functional, it's everything that we need. What I love most about the home is the architecture. There are some hard lines that I would like to curve out at some point. However, just so much opportunity architecturally from the beginning. That's the first thing I love. If I could say one or two more things, I also do love the fact that we get to kind of have the best of both worlds with indoor and outdoor living. The way that our den area is set up, which we'll go through that later. I call it our lounge because that's kind of where we hang out every day. But you can literally look outside and see a good portion of the backyard, which feels great even when it's cold outside. Next, we're going up to the third floor, which houses my dressing room. Come on. So welcome to my dressing room. This is a bit of the entryway to the room. And just for context, this is not an attic. This is an actual bedroom, which, because I'm a realtor, I know you need a window and a door. And this has both. So this is a closet that I actually removed the doors from, and I made it into my shoe closet. So there's shelving in here that wraps around a space that was customized and measured out by myself. And I had my contractor install so I could organize my shoes and sneakers and boots in a way that made sense, and sandals, you know, all the things. So this is where my shoes live. I'll share with you my favorite shoes. It's kind of silly, but of all the heels, I would say these are my favorite just because they have these fun little tassels on them. I think I've had these for years from Banana Republic, and for me, that's what constitutes something good. Something that's quality, doesn't have to be expensive, but something that can just last forever, and if you love it, that's what you want. So this is just one of my favorite pair of shoes of all the shoes I have. And I would say, as far as sneakers, oh my gosh, I ordered these sneakers during the pandemic. And this pair of Gucci sneakers, vintage, comfy, classic. I think this is probably one of the only pair of sneakers I have with Italian soles that are getting worn out. So I may actually buy these again. That's how much I love these sneakers. Okay, welcome to the best part of my dressing room. So I'll just start by sharing a little bit about the design concept and how I designed this space and what the intention was. First and foremost, I love to shop, obviously. However, when you grow up, you realize you can't shop every weekend, right? So for me, I wanted to create a boutique at home, right? And so that's what I did for myself. So what spans this entire wall started out as shelving from IKEA, and I had my contractor customize it by adding wood to give it a built-in feel, right? And it's a little tricky with slope ceilings because, again, this is actually a bedroom. So on the other side, I'll mention, on the other side of this wall is a full attic, and you can actually enter that from a little sneaky closet that we passed, and then from this side as well. So this room was a little bit tricky architecturally, but I made it work. And so what you see on this wall is like my own boutique of clothing and accessories, and everything is coordinated. If there's an empty hanger, I probably have it on. I'm not OCD about it, but I try to just keep things organized. So if there's an empty hanger, I'm probably wearing the item or it's in the laundry. But I'll start just down here really quick to just share, like, everything has its own category, right? I have sweaters, I have sweats, then I have like shirts, jackets, blazers, a ton of jeans. I probably have at least 25 pair of jeans at all times. And then the rest is kind of self-explanatory in categories and somewhat color, not perfect in color category, but organized. And up here, it was important for me because I wanted to maintain a boutique feel. It was important to incorporate things that are not necessarily wearable, like the book. That hat, I think the last time and only time I wore the hat was to the Beyonce concert last year, the Cowboy Carter concert. But I love it, so I won't get rid of it. But these are like my smaller accessories up here. Some still in boxes, some are not. And what I want to share next is this area over here. So I don't wear a ton of makeup every day at all. I usually don't. So, but it was still important for me to have like a dressing table where I can sit, breathe, spray some perfume on. This is like my favorite core perfume collection. I have a ton in my bedroom as well, but these are the ones that I use ongoing. And it's important for me to have my grandmother here. My grandmother, she's like the biggest part of my inspiration in design, to be honest. And in this photo here, she's holding my mom when she was a baby, and my grandmother was absolutely gorgeous. She was a registered nurse. I have no idea how she ended up in a magazine, but that photo was her in a magazine. And she's my biggest inspiration because as a little girl, I spent a ton of time at our grandparents' home, my brother and I. And her home, not plural, but her home had beautiful Asian inspired Oriental rugs on the floor, plastic on the furniture, usually. She had marble tables, a custom nook in her kitchen. So all the things that I grew up looking at, I had no idea what it was, but I figured out later that that's why I love those things. Similarly with my mom, our homes always had, beautiful custom drapery and just amazing textures and mixed metals and things like that. So again, you see burlwood, which it's a bit of cohesion throughout my home, which is another thing that's intentional. I tend to gravitate to the same things, right? So this is actually a desk, but I decided to make it a dressing table. And just to share this chair with you a bit, it took me forever to find a chair that I actually liked. So this is an acrylic chair with a white leather seat, which is fine. However, to add some interest to it, I took this small hide, which I have a hide collection as part of my home and, home decor collection. And I actually kept this for myself instead of selling it. But, it just adds a little bit of fun to the chair. And believe it or not, this little chair is so comfortable. So that's just one thing I wanted to share about that area. Now, okay, let's chat a bit about what you see on this side of the room. You see racks, right? No shame, because that's what you see in stores. So that was intentional. These racks are on wheels. And before I did the built-ins, that's what you saw on both sides of this room. So I have overflow and what will be the guest room at some point. So I wear a ton of white, obviously, right? Throughout the year, white tops. And then in the summer, I'm always usually in white, denim or black all the time. So what you see here is kind of my collection of white wardrobe, but this rack here is an extra rack that I use when I'm traveling, when I'm getting ready to pack for vacation, or when I need to try on outfits, kind of like a store. I'll pull things, out and then put them here. And I try to be intentional about making sure it's items I have not worn yet, or things that I just don't wear often, so I can make sure that I'm wearing my clothes. I think a big thing that we all sometimes can do is not wear our clothes or save the clothes for a special occasion. Like, for example, this cute skirt I found on sale at Lucky Brand around Christmas, and I haven't worn it yet. So I have to make sure I wear this. You might see me in High Point Market with the skirt on. But this is another skirt that I found, and I can't remember where this came from. This is Zara, but really cute, right? I just haven't worn it yet. So these items are like up next for me to wear. So this sofa is where you'll typically see my dog. Her name is Charlie Girl. If Charlie Girl is here with me in this space, she finds her way here to let me know she's chilling. She's not going anywhere. She's going to just sit and watch me, right? Naomi Campbell, absolutely love her. When I saw this poster, I had to have it. I wanted to frame it in something that just was an element of surprise, somewhat unexpected. And I think that's important to have in your spaces as you decorate. So this frame I actually found on Amazon. Same thing with the overhead lighting of it. But at night, sometimes I'll use the remote and turn that on just for ambience. And I think it's important that we kind of create that for ourselves at home, so you're actually experiencing home. So this corner is great because there are times when my husband's watching something in the bedroom that I don't want to necessarily watch. I'll sneak up here with my laptop and I'll have a girls' night in here all by myself. My personal style, I feel, is pretty interesting. So I gravitate to a modern contemporary feel with a bit of Scandinavian style. And I just learned that a couple years ago, ironically. Someone else was looking at my work and it was pictures of my home, and they identified that for me. And when I did a little research and dug a little deeper, I discovered that was actually part of my style. And so when I took time to actually start the decorating process, it's been a journey, let's just say that, because I wanted home to feel collected and, you know, just inviting and warm. So the color palette had to be, you know, foundation had to be neutral. And what I did was layered it, and things like this custom fabric here on my sofa. It's a light olive green. The texture, all the things. So heavy on texture. Also a marble lover. So you will find marble almost in every single room in the house. I just want to share what I layered this wallpaper with. Number one, this wallpaper is amazing. It's by Mitchell Black and it's part of Forbes Masters collection. Installed some of it myself, not all of it. However, this photo here is a photo of myself that was drawn by an artist at the New York Design Center last year. And I was there for a celebration, and I thought it was so thoughtful that they had an artist there to actually draw photos of you in person. And I think she did a great job. So I hung that there for some amusement. And then what you see here is Diana Ross. She was one of my favorite singers, celebrities when I was a little girl. Yeah, so I wanted to actually hang this here because number one, I love black and white art. But again, I love iconic celebrities who have great stories, and I love her story of her life. So I thought that glamour shot of her was a good one. And then down here, which you may be able to capture, this is literally a cover of Vogue magazine with a dark-skinned girl that's a cartoon character. This was on Vogue's cover around that Black Lives Matter movement. And I think it was a very important time because it was important where there was some recognition, I think, that was needed, and it was heightened. And the long story short of it is, you don't see black girls on Vogue magazine often. So when I saw this as like a cartoon character and the way that it is, she's sharp if you like hone in on what she has on. But I had to frame it because I loved it. So yeah, so that's what I have on the walls here in the dressing room. And next, we're going to go down to the mudroom. Welcome to the mudroom, which is, it functions as a mudroom and laundry room. However, this space is the space I never knew I needed. I'll talk about this wall here a bit first, just because I feel like wall galleries get a bad name. You know, it's one of those things where either you love it or you hate it. I love a good gallery wall. However, I think it needs to be intentional and it needs some type of uniformity. So this gallery wall it basically includes some of our favorite wedding photo shots. We're celebrating our 5-year anniversary this year. And I wanted to make sure my daughter was included in this wall because she's a huge part of our life. And these two photos at the top and bottom on this side is her. She graduated in 2020, right? So that year was a little crazy with the pandemic and everything. So she had her photo shoot outside and she graduated from Westchester University. And I'm very proud of her for that. And of course, you can't have a dog without doggy things. So this is just a little corner for my dog. And what I'll share is the cabinetry you see in here. It's from IKEA. It's not custom. I'm not a huge fan of over customization, honestly, because then you're committed, right? And I mentioned I kind of have commitment issues when it comes down to certain things at home. So it was just important that I had cabinetry that was as tall as possible so that I could utilize the top. We have a pool, so we have to have chlorine stored. I love to plant flowers, so I have some gardening things up there. This particular pantry is dedicated to Charlie Girl. This is dog food, all the things a dog could need, right? This is filled with pool towels and games. So again, we entertain quite a bit. So if people are here and they want to get in a pool, I have towels, have at it. And then on this side, in this pantry closet, we have, other things like paper towels, cleaning supplies, and all of that type of stuff. So when I fully renovated this space, by the way, if I show before photos, you probably will pass out. But we renovated this space as one of the first because outside of the door is our driveway. So we enter and exit this space every single day. So let's just start there. Like, it was important for me that this space be inspirational. The color was selected carefully, which is a shade of green. That's for inspiration, growth, and all the things that green stands for. I wanted to have a utility sink, but not the traditional old school one. So this sink here is important that I had like a faucet that could, that could spray, that could be moved. So when I'm here, if I'm cutting flowers and all those things, this is where that happens. And then we added these cabinets. These were not here before, but again, more storage for my husband's things that he might need for outside. And then the washer and dryer, of course, is housed by this customized counter. Again, we got some skin in the game. We built the foundation, and then we had the countertop installed on top of it. So, and if you look up, you'll see cranes on the ceiling. Cranes are my favorite birds. In my last home, I had a powder room that had crane wallpaper all over it. So at first I was a little apprehensive, like I don't want to be repetitive. However, honoring what I love is important. So there you have it. And just really quick here, you have just a bench that we can sit on to put our shoes on, take them off. Usually there's a ton of shoes in here and hooks for hanging things when you need. So I think storage is really important. And what I have here are baskets. So like at Goodbye and Hello, I can grab certain things if I need. There are masks in here for if someone is sick. We have shoe covers. We don't typically wear shoes in the house. I'm wearing shoes today because it's a special occasion. And then we have doggy bags and things like that for when I walk the dog in here. So super, super functional. And I think that is where you should have a space in your home dedicated. If you don't have a mudroom, whatever space you enter and exit, I think you should just maximize storage. And have a bit of a drop zone, right? If we're coming in from the supermarket, you need an empty space where you can just drop bags, right? It could be raining or whatever. And I will mention on the other side of this door is a space that has not been touched yet. That's part of our next round of renovations. That's going to be our theater room. It was the garage that the previous owner closed in, so it added to the living space, and I was okay with it. I kind of sacrificed having the 2-car garage for the pool, so I was fine with it. And in the rear, outside of this door, we also have a shed, so there's more storage for outside. So next, I want to walk you through my office. Welcome to my home office, which is where a lot of the magic happens. Wow, where do I even start? So I will start by sharing that I do have a space in a brick and mortar office in Bluebell, PA, which is about 20 minutes from where we live in Montgomery County. But it was important for me to transition the personal suite that I had previously into home when we purchased this home, because this office here, first of all, it's double the size of what I was paying for each month. And I also have a storage closet that you can walk in for my overflow of decor and things like that. So what you see in here is furniture that I took from my old office that I had. So now at Bluebell, I go there and it's somewhat shared space. You get a room when you're, all those things you do. But it was important for me to keep that foundation for certain meetings. But I totally embraced having this office at home, and I'm so grateful that my husband agreed to let me use this space. So when you walk in, there is not a door, which I discovered I need a door. So eventually I will have a door here. that will look very similar to the double doors that you enter in through our den upstairs for some cohesion. So for now, you just walk in, and what you see here on the wall immediately, again, another iconic person I love, Tina Turner. Oh my God, Tina Turner. I had records, and I'm dating myself, but I had a record player and I played her records as a little girl. So you see a couple of photos of Tina Turner here. This here below is a piece by, I believe it's Natalie Odessa. I don't want to mess up anyone's name, but she is an amazing artist. And this is just one of her two prints that I have of hers that I love. Very feminine, obviously, in here because I'm a woman. So you'll see quite a bit of art in here is feminine. But here you see cabinetry that I use for all the things. I have tools in here for install day, extra samples. This is a bit crowded. So as I was preparing for this moment, I realized that I probably need more shelving at some point, but nonetheless, it works for me for now. Some of my favorite decor books, always going to have a plant somewhere in the mix. And then over here, you see my collection of Cosentino stone, because bath and kitchen is my specialty, but bathroom in particular is my niche. You will see quite a bit of samples for those areas. You will see some snacks here. This little cooler is like a game changer because, again, every room that I'm in, usually it has to function and it has to just have what I want at my fingertips. So that's what you see. You see some champagne in there from celebrating, water bottles, a protein drink. If I just came from working out and I got to jump on a call, it's really important that I have everything here in this office. And peeking through the windows is another part of the driveway that you can see. And I'll point out that what I love also about this office is you can enter and exit. There's a private door you can leave in and out of. This piece of wall art, it spoke to me. It spoke volumes to me because I love to swim in the pool, which I'm not a good swimmer. I just learned a few years ago at 40. For the first time, and I need quite a bit of more lessons. But all of that to say, seeing like people and kids in the pool, it looks like this is a mixture of ages. And because this is an eye shot from looking into my office, it didn't necessarily need to be feminine, but it needed to be something meaningful. So this is also another piece by an up-and-coming artist that I wanted to support. And then just spanning over here, you see my dog's bed. She is literally always at my feet. If you've ever seen golden doodles or mini doodles on Instagram, she's everything you see. Like, she's a Velcro dog. So she's not here right now because I wouldn't be able to get this done. But you just see everyday life. Like, it's important for me not to have everything staged no matter what's happening because I live here, right? And I'll just spin around and just share a little bit about this area. I mentioned the sofa that I used to have, which also was paired with an oversized chair that is now in a guest room. But I'm big on repurposing things. It's important that you don't really go to sell everything on Facebook Market immediately or trash it, especially if it's still something you can use. So this actually came down to my office as a result of getting new furniture upstairs. Same thing with the table. But again, it works because it serves as a bit of a lounge area. If I'm tired, I need a break from work, or just whatever. And then I have my whiteboard that says, "Hi, Homeworthy, welcome to our home." And so this is the powder room. Welcome. It's not super big, so you got to come a little bit closer. This here, let me just manually put this down because I swear this smart lavatory is the star of the show almost unintentionally because it's technology, right? So it automatically, the lid comes up when you come in. So what I want to share about this powder room is that it's fully custom. It was important that I use the material that I love, and this is silestone, which is not marble. It's more durable than marble. It's a mixture of natural materials, and this is an integrated sink. So I wanted to have something that I could add shelving to later underneath if I want, but something that was like just speaks to what I love. So it was important that I incorporate something that I loved in here, which is color and stone. Sile stone is super durable. The floor, that was slab that we had cut into just 4 pieces. Didn't want to have a bunch of small tile, and that's kind of like a designer pro tip. If you want to create a luxury look, or if it is luxury design in this case, you know, just cut the pieces larger. You don't have to have small 12 by 12 or, you know, 6 by 12 tile everywhere. So, and here I wanted to layer the lighting. Because this is a small powder room, it was important for me to have a sconce on the wall. I could have did too, but I feel like sometimes you have to be honest with yourself. If you don't have space for it, or if it feels forced, it probably is forced. So here I have 1 sconce on the wall, and then I have these 2 downlights up here on the ceiling, which add a little bit of depth since they extend from the ceiling. And you may not be able to see here currently because of the light, but they are also antique gold. So, and then behind me, again, you see Tina Turner, just as a completion of what you see as you segue like into my office if you happen to be going there. And again, you'll see fresh flowers just everywhere. It's instant inspiration. It adds a pop of color since this is color drenched completely, similar to my mudroom. So again, you'll just see cohesion. And even though the whole entire home is pretty neutral, green is a neutral color. So you'll see some saturation in some areas to help with that balance. And yeah, this is the powder room. Home means everything to me. It means it's my roots. It is where I'm grounded. It is where I retreat for safety. It's a lot going on in this crazy world, and home just is my favorite place to be. I travel quite a bit, so home to me just means where my heart is. It's where I get to entertain my family, which I love to do, and my friends. And yeah, so it means life and just home. Well, Homeworthy, it's time to say goodbye, and thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed this, but I must get back to work now, and I have to go pick up my dog. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.